On today's show, if you've never heard the name Hugh Becker, you're missing out on quite a story. We'll take a look at the man and the legacy he left behind. Don't you just wonder where all those fish come from that are served in restaurants? Look no further than here, a place called the Fish Guys. When you're taking a charter fishing excursion on Lake Michigan, you'd better be ready for anything. Steelhead and lake trout galore. We'll tag along to see. And our Minnesota-bound classic this week is a tribute to one of our favorite characters and a sharpshooter to boot. We say goodbye to Tom Knapp. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hi everybody, Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, it's no fishing secret that Minnesota has some of the best muskie fishing in the world. I mean, there are 50-inch muskies swimming all over some Twin Cities lakes, for example. There are many reasons why we have such great muskie fishing, but one of them is a man named Hugh Becker. And so when I say Hugh Becker to you, what's the name Hugh Becker mean?
Of all the people in Minnesota, nobody can answer that question better than George Selke, a longtime friend.
What Mr. Becker means to me is the research end of Muskies Inc., the scientific approach to fishing muskies, his dedication to raising muskies and releasing muskies.
If you revel in Minnesota's muskie fishing, if you understand that Minnesota's muskie abundance and size these days is akin to historic highs, if you appreciate this marvelous fish, then you should remember the name, Hugh Becker.
Well, he's originally from Olivia, Minnesota. His dad was a pharmacist, and during the Depression, they moved to Minneapolis.
After serving in World War II as a Marine, Hugh Becker returned and entered the medical field with an advanced degree in kinesiology.
He never was married. He really didn't have any relatives, so to speak. He had two sisters, and the sisters died young, and he was really a mentor to me.
Back in 1966, Hugh Becker and a man named Gil Ham founded a fishing organization called Muskies Inc.
The original plan for Muskies Inc. was really like a good old boys club. You know, they didn't want any women or kids involved in it. It was pretty an exclusive idea. And Becker was the one that says, if you want to grow, you better have kids involved and you better have women involved.
What did he find so fascinating about muskies?
I think it was just the challenge. It was just the challenge of trying to find the most elusive fish that he knew of. And this is a picture of Becker fishing on Lake Wissota. And that's the original that was painted by Les Kuba.
But Hugh Becker's story is not about catching big muskies. It's about creating a future for muskies.
Well, he was one of the original legends. He was one of the guys that was out there on the hunt for big fish. He spent a lot of time in Canada and had some stories that everyone wanted to hear, and was one of the original pioneers as far as tagging fish and looking at it more from a research standpoint.
In January of 2007, at the age of 89, Hugh Becker passed away, but not before creating the Hugh C. Becker Foundation.
$551,000 have gone out in grants. 25% of that has gone to the Chippewa Rod and Gun Club, and they can do whatever they want to do with it. However, the 75%, or almost $400 and something thousand, goes to the Twin Cities chapter, and there's directions on how they are to use it. It's really youth, fisheries, and research. Stocking White Bear Lake and Minnetonka, there's monies that go into there all over, and it's not just in Minnesota. This goes all over the country. This year was a large amount of grants went to youth programs, like the high school muskie tournament that's here, the youth camp in Palisades, Minnesota. The foresight that Becker had of bringing kids up is carried on through his legacy.
For me, he was kind of the guy who had the vision to see that that was something that realistically had to happen, and had the, I guess, the insight to do some stocking and also to do some tagging on his own and prove it with the numbers that it was a resource that you could enjoy over and over and still get your picture and brag about the fish.
And when you land that trophy muskie, brag too about a fellow named Hugh Becker.
This is the lobster room.
Coming up, with a handle like the Fish Guys, one would assume these folks get shipments from, well, you name it. We'll take a peek into the world-class business of the Fish Guys.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers. Renewal by Anderson, Seven Clans Casino, Connecticut, and by Rapala.
Welcome back. The next time you go to a restaurant and order a fine dinner of fish, for example, maybe salmon, you ever wonder where it comes from? Well, in the Twin Cities in the upper Midwest, it comes from some folks that call themselves the Fish Guys.
This is the busiest fishing hole in Minnesota.
So now you're officially in our fish processing plant.
And this is one of the Fish Guys, Mike Higgins. He's the CEO of the 20-year-old company, or you could say he's the big fish.
The Fish Guys are 40 people that work here in Minneapolis and processing fish for all the fine restaurants and retailers in the area. So this room right here is running consistently at 50 degrees or lower.
Oh my.
So here's an order that we're getting ready to pack for one of our clients.
I recognize this one.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah,
Maybe
king
seen
salmon.
one or two of these?
I've caught a few of these. King salmon or these come from Alaska?
They come from Alaska.
I've caught these too.
That's called a barn door. I mean a halibut.
Yeah, barn door.
It's as big as a barn door. We really don't get the really big ones. We generally keep the fish in the 40-pound to 60-pound range.
From halibut to 250 or more fish or seafood species go in and out of here depending on the season.
56 different countries around the world.
I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Is that a shark?
That's part of a swordfish.
Swordfish.
We got a call from the fisherman
Really?
on the boat.
Really?
Yep, and he lets us know that he has just caught himself a 150-pound fish. We buy it, and he goes right to the dock, packs it up for air freight, jumps on Delta Airlines, and is here the next morning.
Serious?
I can turn fish like that. We do that every day here.
The Fish Guys is not a public fish market. Rather, fish are processed here, primarily for restaurants and grocery stores in the Twin Cities, or as far away as Western Dakotas or the UP of Michigan.
We produce about 12,000 pounds of fish scraps a week, and that gets converted into organic cat food or pet food.
So you used every bit of the fish except the splash, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the fish storage area, the world of seafood comes alive.
That's a lake trout, a wild striped bass from Massachusetts. This is an Arctic char. That's a Chilean sea bass. That's a wild sardine, fresh.
Crab meat from China.
Today we have about 15 different varieties of oysters.
This is the lobster room.
By now, if you're wondering about the world's supplies of fish, the Fish Guys also keep tabs.
We go to great lengths to make sure that what we are selling is indeed responsible in an effort to try to make us sleep better at night and make our customers comfortable.
In the meantime, a Fish Guys delivery truck was headed to Stella's, so we tagged along to meet the chef, who'll do the fixin'.
This is all the order that came in that we placed this morning from Fish Guys. This is Stella's Tuna 2 Plus. So this is the grade that we use for our tuna melt and our fresh catch on the menu. And then right here, because we have a sushi bar, we order #1 tuna. Our #1 selling fish is halibut, and we go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds from Fish Guys every week. It's the #1 selling dish during this season. You can get it grilled, broiled, blackened, pan-seared, or the chef's preparation, which we're gonna do today.
Quicker than you could say, "I'll have an order of halibut," Chef Chad was ready to serve.
Ron, here you go. This is the fresh-caught Alaskan halibut, pan-seared, served on a fennel risotto with an heirloom tomato coulis, fried oyster mushrooms grown locally. Enjoy. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks to the Fish Guys who discovered a long time ago, anglers who can't catch 'em still want to eat 'em. Up next, a Lake Michigan charter can be full of surprises. We'll go with Captain Pat Lead to find out what they are.
That's a nice fish.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Yard, premier manufacturers of maintenance-free outdoor patio furniture and accessories from recycled plastic.
You know, a few years ago, Lake Michigan was the hottest fishing spot in America. Well, if you're looking for a new adventure, how about going back there? It's still pretty good. Our man about the woods, Bill Shirk, has the story.
Luddington is the Michigan town of big boats. Really big boats. Like clockwork, the SS Badger slowly rumbles its way out of the harbor and steams towards Wisconsin. But the Badger isn't the only big dog in these parts. The old Camel 3 sneaks out onto Lake Michigan every day too. As we pull out past Luddington's North Breakwater Lighthouse, the captain, Pat Thiel, fires up the twin engines, and they serenade us as we motor to the captain's favorite fishing hole.
That's what I try to do every day.
Somewhere about 8 miles out, the sound of motors gets replaced as the captain and his mate get to the rigging.
We're going to find some kings, we're going to find some steelheads, and maybe a lake trout or two.
Turns out Lake Michigan anglers are darn superstitious. I mean, big time.
In the past, I've been able to catch fish sometimes when they weren't biting by throwing Skittles, blue Skittles, out into the water. So
Me, I just want to catch a darn fish. After all, see those clothes I'm in? They're 3 days old. The airline lost my bags and I'm stuck with the stink.
We're not going to get skunked. We don't allow that.
Holy crap.
Maybe I'm superstitious too, because just moments after Captain Pat calls out the slow fishing,
Farther back you pull, the more, that doesn't look good.
No.
boom, this guy's hooked up. And then he's not.
I don't know. Sometimes they just get away.
Too much voodoo. Next morning, we're up before the sun, and I stick to my new Lake Michigan superstition. Not by choice. Still in those clothes, just one day more foul. As we set up for the morning troll.
Yeah.
A fish, no way.
Lemon ice.
That's my kind of alarm clock. Beautiful fish, look at that.
That's a beautiful sight to see.
Nicely done. Wow. Boy, that's a beautiful.
That's a nice fish.
Thank goodness.
Awake now.
Seems our voodoo might have paid off. Granted, it's only one fish, but just that quickly, one becomes two.
This is a nice fish, huh?
Here you go. Chinese fire drill.
Keep real, drill right down to that guy. That's really now.
Look at that.
Little eel. Little lamprey eel.
Turns out our morning becomes a fish after fish affair. I hope you someday try a fishing trip to Luddington. Just don't forget your good luck rabbit's foot. Oh, and maybe also a bottle of aspirin.
too early for all this.
Good for you.
It's a good start to the morning, boys.
Still ahead, Minnesota Bound says goodbye to one of our favorite sharpshooters. It's the story of Tom Knapp. Next.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Hennepin County Medical Center, Minnesota Agricultural Water Resources Coalition, Minnesota soybean farmers and their checkoff,
You know, it's always a sad moment when you have to reflect on a friend who's no longer with us. Such is the case of a friend who not only was one of the best sharpshooters, trick shooters in America, but he was just a good guy. Tom Knapp passed away in April. We're going to remember him with his fantastic shooting.
If life is but a series of hits and misses,
Is everybody ready to see an old-fashioned shooting show?
the life of Tom Knapp doesn't include many misses.
Here's 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, and 4. Hey! My wife says that I shoot too much.
Life for Tom Knapp consists these days of the roar of the crowd.
She suggested that I take up the game of golf.
A roar when he hits yet another target that almost everybody else in America would miss. Such is the life of a trick shooting showman.
Let's try that again. That's my game of golf with a Benelli golf club.
For Knapp, who lives in Elk River, Minnesota, a true aim has always come easy.
There's the pheasant, right there. I was 9 years old. I had a Daisy Model 25 BB gun. I had an ugly dog. I couldn't get enough of either one of them. It was a passion that developed into an obsession, and when you become obsessed with anything, then you can't tire of it. And the term of practice makes perfect, of course, really holds true. Hey! Nice going! Ho-ho!
Fame as a trick shooter is a tough target, but Tom Knapp never quit. Today, he's become a national shooting icon, a TV celebrity, and he performs more than 100 trick shooting shows a year.
Thanks for coming to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Far from the crowds, here on the prairies of South Dakota,
Good girl, Sophie.
Tom Knapp is at home. Home with a shotgun, a bird dog, and fields of ringneck pheasants.
Rooster!
His every move with a firearm is caught on video for a television show.
Okay, take her slow when you're hunting with other people. It's real important to keep track of all of the other players.
Despite his expert shooting eye, birds of a feather, well, they don't fly like birds of clay.
These wild birds, these guys do tricks that are real hard to keep up with. Rooster!
The trick shooter must be kidding. Or maybe he wasn't kidding.
Rooster! Now, if you happen to see me miss, it might not be a miss at all. So I like to entertain myself to see how close I can get to the bird without hitting it.
But as an ambassador to sport shooting, Tom Knapp doesn't joke about his role.
Our country was basically molded and founded around guns, and it wasn't just for protection. It was hunting, it was subsistence, it was putting food on the table. Hey, Rooster!
And how should the trick shooter be remembered when he aims his last?
My tombstone. Come on. Good girl. Here lies a pretty good shot.
I suspect I know where Tom is now doing his most impossible shots. Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors. I'm Ron Sharon, of course, always the star of the show. And very antsy today, I might add, is my buddy Raven.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. For more information on these stories and more, catch us on the web at mnbound.com.